Hello and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Wednesday, April the 6th, 2022. Had a little technical difficulty with some echoes and stuff on the audio there. Wasn't going to make you suffer through that for the entire broadcast, so we just took that down, deleted it, started it back over. Not going to put you through the song again. Tim and I are just going to get into what you love us for best, our crazy takes on things and our interesting, at least to us, opinions on some of these things. I'm coming to you live from the middle of the Iron Mountain. We just had a crazy ass thunderstorm here, had some lightning strike right in the backyard, and then I heard it at Tim's house through the microphone. We were on the Skype, bullshitting before the show, and I could hear it in his microphone, and then I heard it in real life a few seconds later. So that was pretty interesting. Big storm. Sounded like a lightning bolt hit right in the backyard. It sounded like a giant 22 rifle. It was like a whip crack.
This new thing that you've created, it says it's going to start at 9:40 p.m.
Oh, really? It says we're streaming.
Well, if we're streaming, we're streaming. I don't know.
I don't know. If we're not, then need to figure that out. What we need is a production crew. Wouldn't
Oh,
that,
no,
wouldn't that be nice?
we're good. I'm just an idiot, man.
Okay. Well,
I
that's
found
good
you.
to know. Uh,
That's why I'm checking. Once I get this out of the way, we're good.
just get the idiocy out of the way right at the top. Maybe we can both do that, and I can make sure that you are coming in here on the audio. Can you hear yourself on that end?
So everything sounds good.
Okay, good deal. I've got everything set up properly. This program we're using for streaming, folks, is a little bit tricky to get everything to work properly when you're using lots of different input sources and
Well, it's kind of if anybody out there understands freeware. It's what you're using is like the Audacity version of streaming.
yeah.
It's like it works, but it's just a pain in the ass and has a huge learning curve to it.
Yeah, it's not so bad. There's just a lot of little things to be sure you remember. So tonight we did have scheduled Mike A.C. Enzer was going to meet with us to discuss his. He was just going to kind of shoot the shit with us, and he was going to discuss his mayoral candidacy. But he had something come up, and he got with me, and we're going to work to get an interview recorded this weekend that we'll be able to share with you, hopefully on our Sunday show. So we'll still have that coming to you. So we want to thank Mike for reaching out to us and letting us know what was up. And I totally understand when stuff happens. So I appreciate him giving me the heads up. So we'll get back with him. But in the meantime, we got some news I want to go through with you. Tim, have you been looking at the news in Tennessee the past few weeks, few days?
No, but I think that can be good
Yeah.
because it's buried in fantasy. So you can tell me about what's happening in the real world, and I can tell you what's happening in the fantasy world, and we can watch them merge.
Yeah. You can be like a modern Frodo Baggins and, emerge from your hole and see what's going on in this realm.
I emerge from holes in the ground with 30 feet.
All right, so the first local news story that I wanted to go over. This is actually a state story. It's from Tennessee, statewide. There's a bill that would allow ivermectin to be sold over the counter. It passed the Tennessee Senate. Now, this was actually Senator Rusty Crowe from Johnson City. He seems like he's been our state senator for, I mean, since I was in elementary school, and seems like he was a Democrat back then, but I could be mistaken. But I think he's a Republican now.
I'm not sure if I'm related to him somehow on my grandmother's side, on the Crow side. And as far back as I can remember, he was a Republican. He came to Hunter Elementary when I was in, hold on, let me figure out what part of the building I
Maybe
was
I'm
in.
mistaken.
Uh, Probably around third or fourth grade. Well, I mean, even now, because Trump was always a Democrat before he ran for president. So
Yeah.
really, Democrat and Republican's not even the same thing anymore. So
Well, I mean, it doesn't. I searched Rusty Crowe Democrat real quick, and I don't see anything like that. So,
really
um,
red area though. So
yeah, but
that's
the Southern Democrats were a lot different now. Like the Southern Democrats of the 80s and early 90s were. I mean, they were a lot like the Southern Republicans of today. I mean,
hmm
you would probably find them to actually be uh, more conservative in a lot of ways than a modern, a lot of modern Republicans, especially
Hmm.
with regard to spending and things like that.
Yeah. You got solar power electricity is back in the chat
Oh
still.
yeah, let's read it for us. I'm gonna have to pull up my chat doc. It's minimized here. There we go. He says you are.
I think he's asking it because when we thought we weren't live.
Oh, we are live now. Yes, thank you for telling us. Now I've got that chat pulled up. It's supposed to come up automatically, but like we talked about, this program's a little funky. But back to Rusty Crow sponsored the bill. It's Senate Bill 2188, introduced by Frank Nicely of Strawberry Plains on January 31st. And it made its way past the committees and passed the full state Senate with a vote of 23-6. And it would authorize ivermectin that's suitable for human use, quote unquote, suitable for human use, to be bought or sold as an over the counter medication in Tennessee without a prescription. Pharmacists and other licensed healthcare providers would not be required to provide a consultation prior to sale either. Uh, so according to this, it's a very safely used around the world that has it's one of many therapeutic options that people have for a lot of ailments, and they say in that this is for COVID-19. But go ahead, Tim.
Do you know anything about ivermectin? Because if I'm being honest, the only thing I know about it is what the internet's told me.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I know it's an anti-parasitic that it's taken in a lot of countries like India. They take it for all the different parasites that are in the water. I think it can be used. I think they use it as a dewormer in animals. But it's also used in humans. I think as an anti-malaria drug, or that might be the other one, the H hydroxychloroquine. That's the anti-malarial. But
I think hydroxychloroquine is the malaria one, but I don't know. I mean, like, I can't even begin to. I mean, I could. I just don't sound like a complete dumbass.
what?
Talking about drugs,
Well, I don't know enough about
it's
it
got
other than
parasitics and anti stuff like that could work against COVID. But then again, I guess I don't really understand that. I don't understand the virus either.
yeah,
So,
I don't either. He says,
and all my music knowledge, I don't know why.
well, I mean, it's a lot to keep up with. Even somebody like you or I, Tim, who a lot of times dives deep into the internet and lives in there for a little while, you can look into a lot of these things and still come away without a lot of answers, especially when there's been active censorship. He said no way that it works using for COVID-19. Yeah, that's if you look at the standard um, anti what you call it anti-parasitic, that wouldn't necessarily work as in the same mechanism against a virus. But I don't really know enough about that. I'm not a doctor, so I don't want to start talking on that. But
I guess
there's
it's like the reason, like doctor, like I don't want to say because I know the left was really being really aggressive. I don't want. It shouldn't be right or left on this. They were being really aggressive towards the doctors who were wanting to use these drugs for this purpose, and people were saying, "No, that's stupid. That's off label. That has nothing to do with it." I mean, I think that's a really flimsy excuse
yeah,
though, because almost every drug that I've ever been prescribed, if I always look into it because I'm paranoid, and almost every drug that I've ever been prescribed was not created for what it was used for. Like for example, back in the day, I had one that it was called lamotrigine. It was supposed to be for like depression and stuff. And after I dove into it, it turns out it's like an anti-seizure medication that they use for all sorts of things. So I mean, there's almost no drug that's actually used for the purpose they intended it for. They find a use for the drug after they figure out what the hell it
yeah, that's
does.
right. And
Saying that,
whether it,
I just if they figure out these drugs can do something with that, saying they're not supposed to be used for that is a really flimsy argument if they actually work. I guess that's
whether
all.
it's the same mechanism or not, there's a lot of doctors that are saying that it's working for their patients, and a lot of people who are saying it's working for them. In fact, India, they had. He says his wife is working with COVID-19 kids. Yeah, and a lot of those studies saying that drug didn't work for people with that were done after they were the whole point of using this drug was as an early or preventative So a lot of those studies were done on people who were already well into the later stages of infection. So that's not really how the proponents of those of ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine being used for COVID-19, they weren't saying that it could be used as life-saving treatment once somebody's hospitalized, but that's how a lot of those studies were done. And yeah, that's not going to have good results in that case. They were saying as an early treatment that they are effective, and that there are some places, including India, who had a lot of success with it. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't know enough to keep up on this, but I know I do, I see things that are contrary to the narrative of what we're being told, um, by the, I guess, the mainstream zeitgeist, if you will, the constant flow of information all around us. Um, it's kind of counter to that, but those points are being silenced a lot, and they don't tend to silence nonsense, as we've talked about before. They talked about they silence things that are true and damaging to the establishment, or things that have a grain of truth to them, and could be damaging to the establishment were that grain of truth to come to light. Do you know what I'm talking about, Tim?
Yeah, that tends to be the case. Do you think it's ever possible that that maybe they'll do this in the future, maybe they're doing this now, that from time to time they will censor or even persecute people for the whole purpose of later on they want people to focus on? Because people figured that out. Like they can't be stupid enough to think that forever people are always just going to be like, "Doit, they took that off. Shouldn't look at that anymore."
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people do. I think, well, maybe it's just bots, but you see a lot of people in, chat rooms and on message boards who are defending things like that. Um,
You mean defending censorship?
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I mean, I guess more like the day that everybody decided to deplatform Alex Jones. It's not like it hurt him. It made a lot of people want to go and see what the big deal was.
yeah.
And there for a little minute, there was quite a few comedians and people in the field of, I guess you would want to call it paranormal or alternative research or
Yeah.
something, for lack of a better term, that were saying awful things, hoping to get canceled because they realized it was such a ratings boost for Alex Jones and a couple of other people. And sometimes I just wonder if it's the CIA, right? We're going to sit here and talk about them having patents for VR headsets back in the 50s, but I'm supposed to believe that maybe every now and then they suppress things because it's their own shit that they want us to look
Yeah.
at. Man,
Well, I think you're definitely right about that. Solar power, electricity, and electronics, says Joe said that I would not get sick if I take the shot. Yeah, a lot of people thought that, and that's what they told us originally. They said it had like a 95% efficacy rate at preventing it, and then as time went on, that number went down, and then eventually they said, oh well, it will prevent serious illness or death, and there was some evidence statistically to support that. And again, I'm not a statistician either. I don't necessarily know 100% how to interpret that data, but from what I could tell, that's the way it looked, and it also looked like there were some other things coinciding with it, including an uptick in cases, sometime near it. Whether or not it had anything to do with it, I can't say. Causation does not necessarily, or correlation does not necessarily equal causation, but you can't help but notice that there was a rise in numbers right about the time that we started seeing the medications administered in the spring of 2020. It was right about the time we saw a big uptick in it, and which was kind of weird because the idea was that if we were out in the sun, I think that we would be less likely to spread it. We're outside, there's more open space. The sun kills it on surfaces quickly. That has lots. We're not as prone to recirculating air, spreading it around inside. So yeah, that was kind of strange how that ended up. And then you did have a lot of people who are claiming now that they had an injury from it or reports of an injury in the VAERS database that was created for people to report these things to. But it's such a pain to report to that Harvard did a study and found that they reckon only 1% to 10% of these reactions actually get reported. So that Harvard study that they figure based on how difficult it is. A lot of times people the process is difficult in itself. A lot of times people can run into issues of being mocked or made to feel silly for trying to say this, and so a lot of people don't go through with it, including doctors, when it comes to reporting it. But let's move on to the next. I think that's a good drug, though. I mean, it's used the world over safely. If you can buy it safely, just like other drugs, I think it should be able to. I mean, should be up to you whether you want to take it or not. I'm for drug legalization, man, including ivermectin. Now, let's go over to the common law. Did you hear anything about this common law marriage bill?
Which one?
Well,
Florida?
no, this one was in Tennessee, and it was saying the way I heard about it was a paper that I follow on Twitter. I can't remember which one it was, but they were saying that this marriage bill that's coming through Tennessee would allow adults to marry children because it did not have a age discrimination written into it, or an age limit written into it. And so apparently the Republicans who drafted this bill, and the idea, I think, if I understand this correctly, to be honest, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But I think what they're saying is they want to create their own kind of marriage that is one man and one woman, and that they're calling it this common law thing. And anyway, people were. I don't. Do you understand what that's supposed to be? That I guess it's separate from the state marriage that we already have. That can be, two people of the same sex, or what? Does that make any sense to you?
Uh, okay, this is gonna sound stupid because no, I don't. But I've heard there are states that have what's called common law, where if you live with somebody for long enough, you're considered common law spouse. I don't know. The common law spouse wouldn't be new to the United States. It'd be new to the state, but I'm not sure what the difference between that and a traditional marriage is, unless it's just easier to break off.
This says that they had pastors who would come to Representative Tom Leatherwood from Arlington. Said he had pastors and come to him with moral objections, conscientious objections to performing the marriages. I guess he's talking about gay marriages. It says critics of the bill say it's aimed at creating a new marriage system for heterosexual couples. It says marriage is between a man and a woman. This would create a marriage certificate reflecting that, and so it would be a form that just reflects that. I don't get this at all. Do you see what this is? It seems like a fully political bill. It doesn't seem like it.
Is it seriously say that they're trying to create a straight person only marriage?
That's what it says.
If gay people can get married, we got to create a special straight person only sort of marriage.
That's what I'm reading, and I thought for sure that I couldn't be understanding. It sounds like a South Park episode. So much of our lives do these days.
It sounds. I don't really.
Come on, everybody! We're gonna make our own marriage.
Marriage. We're trying to make straight marriage a legal term. Stupid.
Man. Yeah, I don't get it. Let's see here. We got from WJHL Knoxville pain clinic director sentenced for federal drug charges. Maryville doctor who pleaded guilty in federal court to running his Knoxville pain clinic as an illegal drug premise has been sentenced. This cat, he's 61 years old, out of Maryville. He got 3 years of probation, 100 hours of community service, a fine of $10,000, and a special assessment of $100. Ooh, hurt with that $100. He was charged with making he maintained his Tennessee Valley Pain Specialist clinics in South Knoxville as an illegal drug premise, and say that he co-owned the clinic with another dude who was given pain pills out to people who for no medical purpose. So they got stung um, by the Appalachian Regional Prescription Opioid Strike Force Surge. So you think about what somebody who's selling those pills on the streets. Let's think about he's giving out OxyContin, right, to his buddies. And, however long he's doing that. Uh, Somebody doing OxyContin out on the street like that, be looking at years and years. I mean, probably 8 to 12 years in federal penitentiary, wouldn't there? A state penitentiary, wouldn't they? Maybe federal.
Uh, I don't know what possession is with opioids, and
Yeah.
I guess my issue with these pain clinics and stuff now is it's been going on for so long. It just really makes you. It's almost like one of those just dirty things where a doctor gets caught and goes, "Yeah, it was
Well,
me," and then 2 years later they just go back into practice and do something else.
yeah, it'd be.
And I don't really know the answer for that.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's not that I want the dude to go to jail. I mean, uh, I don't. I'm just saying there's kind of a big discrepancy between what would happen to some poor guy who's selling OxyContins and
But if you look at an actual basis of, okay, let's take the doctor out of this. Let's just pretend the doctor has figured out he can make a lot of money on the side selling pot instead. And now the doctor is the doctor is, saying, like, if he's just because he's a doctor. I don't know, man. I don't really want anybody going to jail and what I want, to be honest with you. When we start illegalities, I'm just saying, like, it's such an open thing. People know. It's almost like if it's like the house on the end of the corner on a certain street where everybody knows they're selling drugs, but the cops never
yeah.
go there, and everybody wonders why. And it's the same thing I feel like with the pain clinics. Everybody knows which doctor will give you pills if you're in the know. I don't look for those. But everybody knows of a doctor that does it, but nobody ever does anything. And then when they get busted, there's not really. I just wonder, it's like if they busted the supplier of any other drug, there would be big issues. And that's quite literally the supplier. He's just handing it out to one individual thing at a time. I don't know. It's a weird. I just feel like it's like an open secret.
Yeah. Like a lot of those
clinics,
things we talked about a couple of weeks ago, people wouldn't do them if they didn't think they could get away with them, if they didn't think that enough people around them. It's kind of one of those things, if you've ever been on a job for a long time and there are certain corners that everybody on the job starts to cut after a while at some jobs. And some people even do it to the point of, uh, breaking rules and then maybe even doing things that are illegal, and they do it on a regular basis, and it's just part of the job, and it becomes something that they don't even think about. So I think that's the way a lot of these things happen is people do it without really caring to conceal it because, like Tim said, it's an open secret. Everybody kind of knows what's going on. Let's move.
I would like to say that most doctors really are very, very hesitant to write any sort of benzos or opiates nowadays. So, which makes it even easier to figure out who the suppliers are, because all the doctors are throttling them because they're afraid of the repercussions, and the doctors that aren't throttling them are just. It's almost like they have a script when you come in there, what they're already going to give you. So now you can move on. I don't know. I am critical of doctors, but I don't want to say that every doctor around here is doing that, because it's actually only a few, from what I can tell.
Well, Tim, before I go to this other one, let me check this here and make sure that I've got this set up properly, because I want our people to be able to hear, and I think I do. So let's try it, and you let me know if it is crazy echoey or anything.
Okay. I don't know how far my stream's behind you. I can tell.
Okay.
It's not. So you go whenever, and I'll let you know when I know.
All right. Well, I'm gonna have to mute your microphone for a second while we watch this video, so we don't have. Or you just, if you just don't talk, I think it'll be okay too while the video's on.
Well, I just won't talk unless the video sounds like shit. How's that?
That sounds good.
No, something
All right.
crazy.
So please, yeah, say something crazy, not just anything. Something crazy. All right. Let's try it. Let's try.
The video doesn't have any audio.
It doesn't. Blast. All right. Thank you for telling me. Now,
Cancel. There's no video audio.
what the heck? Oh, it muted. Okay. Let's try it again. Sorry about that, guys. I've had the hardest time with this thing getting it to work right over this. Let's go back to that right here.
I said they don't. I said they don't. It doesn't save settings. It doesn't save settings and stuff. The audacity of streaming services. Ungrateful Tim. Ungrateful Tim. That's what you should say.
As a doctor, quickly looked for any puncture wounds. Not sure if there's I certainly didn't see evidence of a bite or skin penetration, but maybe some areas of abrasion. Did what I would recommend anyone who talked to the attending physician. They said even with an abrasion, you don't mess around with rabies or animal attack.
So we had Democratic congressman there got bit by a fox on Capitol Hill.
Not sure.
And you know they do. You know.
There have been roughly a half dozen
Oh
nips
gosh.
or
It's
bites, and so just out of abundance of caution.
Getting something crazy coming through on the audio now. I'm gonna mute this now and just let you talk to us, Tim, because I think you're gonna be coming through echoey if I don't. Say something to me, Tim. That's good.
Google Hangout, great according to
Yeah,
chat.
that's what I heard earlier. Is that puts us up and lets us switch back and forth, or it automatically switches when I talk. The would focus on my camera, and then whenever you talk, it would go to you. So yeah, we should look into using that, especially if they just have an NDI plugin that's easy to use. So that would be cool. Hey, here's one for us. We don't need audio on this one. We got Florida man arrested after stealing a crossbow by stuffing it down his trousers. Hey, automatically switch it when I talk because they can focus on my camera, and then whenever you talk. Now, where's that coming from? You hear that? I've got crazy audio coming through somewhere. Hey, here's Florida man. That's wild, man. Because both of my desktop audio input are muted, so I don't know where all the sound is coming from. Let me just kill that.
I am.
Oh, am I hearing myself on your phone over there, Tim? Is that what's going on?
Probably. I was just trying to check.
Well, no wonder.
Dang, it's possible.
Man, you're really screwing with me there.
I got you because we had issues earlier.
All right, well, off of Florida, man.
Well, Power says there is feedback, but it could be because I was speaker checking. So if it sounds good now, I'll leave my speakers off.
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was. And you, for some reason, you're coming through as desktop audio. You're only supposed to be coming through as the NDI source, but yeah, it's just one of those things. So we just won't play any more desktop audio on this session. We'll just look at some pictures here. Dyson announces wearable air purifier with noise-canceling headphones built in. Can't wait to do your jogging with this, can you? Man, the headphones are the first that Dyson has released. That doesn't look like it really covers you much. That's one of the things that really aggravated me about actually trying to wear a mask, was they would just constantly slip up and down over your, out from over your nose or up over your chin. You're constantly having to adjust it, getting in your mouth. Gross. But yeah, so that's the answer. Air purifier, headphones, People wear those, won't they, Tim?
I'm on the fence about it. I'm thinking about it. It's not. I don't want to sound stupid, but it's not as awful as I was thinking it was going to be. Like it's. You remember when Google Glass came out and everybody was like, "Really?" It was just it wasn't a bad idea in my
No.
opinion. It was just yes, I agree with Solar Power that this is a complete waste of money. I'm just saying that if it was more horrendous, people might not buy it. But man, I could see people
Yeah,
buying
that's what
this.
I'm saying. I see people every day, I think, that would wear this. Um,
But there's a lot of people. The masks aren't going away for a while for a lot of
yeah.
people. Or I guess the
A lot
point.
of people are wearing them because they choose to. Now, did you see these down here? I know you're a few seconds behind because I'm not sharing my screen with you, Tim. But check these out. Um,
Seeing some of the faces and stuff. A lot of people, I know that some people just need them because they have compromised immune systems, and I think some people are wearing them as almost like a statement, like
yeah.
But there are a lot of people that this is a trend. It's a trending thing for them, and the industry's going to make as much money as they can while they can.
Thanks for the feedback, Solar
Guys,
Power, on our audio issues there. Let's see. Find the price. He said how much. He wants to know how much money it's a waste of.
I'm
They
curious
don't
now.
have a price listed for them that I see. I didn't see one earlier when I was reading it. But you think about somewhere like Beijing, though. I mean, realistically, if it actually would filter something, I don't know. I'm pretty. I know Dyson's high-tech filtration vacuum system and stuff like that, but if you use, for example, a respirator for that's for paint or pesticides, that thing's about good for about 8 hours on a set of filters of being exposed to those chemicals. So, you got to imagine that this Dyson filter is going to have to be changed pretty regularly, especially if you're in smog for it to do any good. Um, no, I don't see a price on it anywhere, Solar Power. Let's look at, before we get done tonight, we're going to do a short episode. Like I said, we didn't really have a show planned tonight. We were going to
He said it's $7.
do what?
He says it's 700
700
bucks.
bucks. Okay.
He says
That sounds about right for Dyson. I'm getting it from Sky News here. They don't have a price listed on it that I see. Um,
like the Beats headphones is like 350 now,
yeah.
right?
So, yeah.
So that makes sense. Going to glue an air purifier to the front of it, and it's going to go up another 400.
Yep. I'd say people will buy it, especially people in big cities. Let's see. Well, we got one more here tonight. Like I said, it's a short show. We weren't really planning to do a news show so much. We were going to have a conversation with one of the mayoral candidates, but we've had to put that off to this weekend. So we're just going to go do one more story here. We've talked a lot on this show about Elon Musk, but it's been a while, Tim, so he really knows how to bust his way back on the scene. But since, we haven't really talked about him deploying the Starlink internet that was, it was being used in Ukraine to link to sync the drones up and things like that the Ukrainians were using. It kept Russia from being able to shut down their internet. But some people were saying it was, not all it was cracked up to be. People in the States are saying that anyway. But he's been in the news some about that, but he really got on there this weekend. We got the ex-Tesla director to the former Tesla board member tells Twitter to put on your track shoes now and prepare to work with Elon Musk. Yeah, that's right. Elon Musk is going to have a board seat on Twitter. He bought 9.2% share, which is not the controlling interest, but the largest single shareholder. So that's going to put him in a position of significant power at that.
Why doesn't he do it on to Spotify too? I mean, I know it's a dumb question, but if he's doing it to Twitter, obviously for reasons that the whole culture's been talking about for a minute, but it seems like Spotify would be the next one to go for it.
Well,
if you're trying to
yeah, that would make sense. He paid $3 billion for that share in Twitter there. Before he did this, he was talking on Twitter. He uses Twitter a lot, and he's kind of a shitlord. Shares kind of semi-edgy memes and stuff like that, and kind of gets into talks like little bits of libertarian theory, or some kind of other economic philosophies and things like this, and he throws little bits of stuff that's interesting out there, but mostly he's a shit poster of sorts. And he posted something on Twitter a few weeks ago asking if people thought there should be an edit button on Twitter, and you know people mostly said, yeah. I kind of don't care, but that's how he started talking about, hinting around about that he might have some kind of interest in it. And he reached out to the Babylon Bee, who was recently banned from Twitter, over, I can't remember if I think it was something that they said that was allegedly transphobic, but the Babylon Bee is a satire site, and much like South Park, they make fun of everybody. They do it from a Christian perspective, but they are equally tough on Christians, and they don't. You wouldn't really necessarily know they were a Christian site a lot of the times.
Every now and then they'll put up something that's very Christian, but every other, like 99% of the time you'd never
It's mostly
know.
like the Onion used to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know that the Babylon Bee was a Christian site until one day they put up an article that I thought was satire at first, but it was like an argument for young Earth or something like that, which is like it wasn't even like, hey, we like Jesus. It was like a kind of an alternative stance because there's not too many Christians that think the Earth is young. Most of them still think the world is pretty old. So it's just interesting that a pretty well-known satire site of that level was also, I guess we'll call it far-leaning right, even though that's not really. I think it's just an open idea. You don't have to believe it to entertain it. The Onion got ruined. Like, it used to be okay until they bought it out because it's making fun of Hillary Clinton too much.
Yeah, that's the Onion was awesome. A lot of the comedians who I grew up on, and they kind of, it wasn't that they all went woke. It was just that they kind of, I guess you could say they did, though. That was never really their thing before, and then suddenly it became trendy, and it all went that way. But the Onion was kind of one of them a little bit. And I'm not saying, I don't think anybody should, make fun of anybody or hurt anybody for, who they are. So that's not what I'm talking about when I say, you know, that I don't like this woke stuff. What I don't like is that basing everything around, some categorization that you've made for somebody. And now we're going to have to judge you based on this arbitrary categorization for everything that we do. And whether it be race or sex or whatever, I don't buy into any of that bullshit. So that's the problem I have with it when I say something about the woke stuff that I don't like. That's what I'm talking about. Doesn't mean I hate anybody or anything like that. But the Elon Musk has been kind of a critic of the woke culture as well, and he's been labeled as a transphobe for doing so. And I don't think he said anything transphobic. It's just a lot of people put a lot of people's, if you think one thing, they think you think another thing that somebody else thinks, that you share those thoughts with. So you hear a lot of people accused of all kinds of things, especially now that anybody who's, to the right of Stalin is, a far right-wing fascist. Most people that I know are more of centrists than anything, or libertarians, but they, usually pick one party and vote one way or another. So, the woke stuff, Elon has been attacked by people who are really into that, but then you don't really know, how real that stuff is. How much of it's just on somewhere like Twitter, which is not real life.
Yeah, I think, I think it's the same on both sides of the fence that, the loudest people don't, there's not really that many people that are hyper emotional about politics. I'm not even hyper emotional about politics. I'm just aware of it. And so the most aware people are, you're not online posting about things or even doing anything unless you care. And usually if you care, you're also vocal.
I'm fascinated by politics myself. It's just,
Well, I am nowadays just by how crazy it's getting as far as like, yeah,
You've got to be from
like
from a psychological from a student of psychology. You've got to be fascinated by it, Tim.
I'm fascinated on a level of I'm wondering how far we go before it does the super flip because like I don't know, man. Like even like I guess I could insult myself with this one, but I feel like we're growing up slower and slower. Like I really feel like I wish I could put my mind in myself when I was like 20. I know that's like an old person thing to
Yeah.
say. You know, I wish I knew what when I was younger or whatever. But I don't feel like I don't feel like my great granddad was just naive when he was my age. You know, like maybe it's world experiences. I don't really know what it is, but I really feel like a lot of who we are as people is just I don't know. I feel like maybe not anybody that's gonna come across these videos and get offended by it. But I mean, like you can even look up here above my head right now, it's like Mario and shit. You
Hmm.
know, and you got Audrey behind me. I know we keep that stuff around us because it gives us some level of comfort. But man, like it really does. Like it I don't want to say worry because that's not the right word, or even concern. It intrigues me on a dark level that so many people spend so much money on things that I would want when I was a child. You know, like it's like people have stopped growing up. Like I almost like the idea of children finding me fascinating when I'm like 80 because I have stinky stuff and I don't do the things that they
Hmm.
do. But this weird blend where everybody's just blending into this homogenized generation where everybody just likes Star Wars and everybody just likes this and everybody likes that. And it's like, man, I don't know. Like, I don't want to be too vocal about it because people think you're an asshole. But it's like at some point in time, it's like when are the adults going to show? You know, when are the adults going to show back up? Because at some point in time, people are going to have to learn how to change tires. And maybe that's judgy. People think that's judgy, but I've not met one person yet. Um, well, I'll stop right there. I don't know, man. I just feel like we're growing up really, really slow, and it makes me concerned for the next generation. Like, at what point are they going to be like, you know what? Fuck it, we're not going to grow up. We're just going to hang out meta or whatever young people
Hmm.
do because that's now, you know.
Yeah, it's like we have a generational. It's like we have a generational arrested development almost at a certain point.
It's not everybody. I don't want any Zoomers getting mad at
No,
me because it's
no,
not
I'm
everybody.
including part of our generation in that, to be honest.
Exactly. There's a large amount of people that just want so desperate to disappear into the noise of the culture because it's funner in there. You know, reality sucks, and nobody wants to be out here living and watching bombs and death and climate change and uh, one world regimes and Illuminati's and whatever you have might be troubling you. It's easier to just disappear into a world of nostalgia where at some point in time I'm going to be able to put a headset on and go hang out with the cast of Kingdom Hearts, and that sounds way funner than watching people argue about shit you can't change that just makes you feel bad because you can't do it. And I don't know, that really darkly fascinates me about how many people might jump into that like sword art online sort of situation and just never come back. Peace
Yeah.
out, sort of like it's like the reverse of a Walden Pond. We're not going into the wilderness. We're just going to jump straight into the machine and let it consume us. Because it's easier.
Or like Cyrus on The Matrix. Of course, he had to betray his friends, but he just wanted to go back into it and forget everything he knew about the real world and go back into the Matrix and be an actor or something where he didn't have to think about these kind of things. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so
There's all sorts of levels of the onion you can pull apart in the Matrix, but like I don't know. Like I just it's either going to culturally flip on some level where a lot of people are going to suddenly grow up real fast, or maybe we have just reached a point in the culture where we've got so much excess that people can just not grow up. Maybe we have, maybe this is going to be like the Peter Pan generation where some people can just disappear into their electronics and their vlogging and their TikToks and, never come out and do anything. I mean, Japan released this crazy gaming chair. I don't remember when I saw it. It's like a couch with like it's just everything in one spot because they're obsessed with
Built-in toilet.
space. You probably had a refrigerator on the side of it, and yeah, people are becoming more and more minimalistic as they become part of the machine too. Like, like people laugh when they see the meme of the guy that just has a TV, but like a lot of young people don't really need that much. They don't need all these like figures and shit. And like, I think the millennials, like half of us went completely in the opposite direction where we said we're just going to live in tiny houses and piss in a patty bucket and, learn how to live off of, learn how to live off the AM PM stations and only listen to grandpa's records. And the other half just jumped crazy into the culture and they're around at 45 with Star Wars shirts on. And it's like, I'm not going to knock it, but at some point it's going to worry me when everybody has a damn Star Wars shirt on and just nobody wants to participate in society anymore. And it's not like I'm knocking it. I'm just saying it's fascinating as a psychologist that leans way more on the side of absurdism because, I mean, what am I going to do? A crusade to fix the world? No, I'm going to watch and just.
Yeah, I think the best we can do is try to make sure those around us and we are in as best shape we can be, and pop a cold one and watch it go. But
I mean, it really is going to be a weird looking future when you've got like, for example, like right now, and people maybe this isn't a big deal. Like in our cities, like where we're from, it's still kind of a big deal when like a cashiers are allowed to wear like a nose ring or have pink hair or something. And now it's just starting to get where the grocery stores are like, you can allow your tattoo to be uncovered. We no longer think you're a sinner. And so I'm just wondering at what point are we going to have like wars being fought where people have crazy like pink dreadlocks and face tats and all, it's going to look like Tekashi 6ix9ine out there on the battlefield. And, like I'm really wondering because at some point in time, all that stuff is going to be so normalized. Let me just give you a short analogy so I don't go too deep down this. Back in the day, if you were around someone who had tattoos, I'm talking about back in the day, it was a sign of someone who was a little bit gritty. They were either a sailor or they were a biker or whatever. And now it's not even about the tattoo. It's like about everybody in every walk of life has a tattoo, and the quality of it. The level of edge now went to where the placement of it was. And the only place that's really even kind of edgy is on the face. And that's really not even that edgy anymore.
No, a lot of people have that now. I mean, it still catches eyes when you see it, but
yeah, I'm saying like 10 years from now, 20 years from now, what are we going to evolve into? Is it going to be like a bunch of people that look like Black Alien Project walking around in Walmart? I mean, like how far does body modification go with the culture? When do we peak,
Hard to say. Hard to say. I think robotics ultimately will be involved, so I mean, I guess there's no limit to which way it could go. But
well, Elon's on the side with all that cyber stuff.
Yeah, he is. I saw an interesting thought experiment for Elon on a show that I talked about on this show a few times. Quite frankly, they talked about Elon, and let's put him. Let's do his character. What you call it? What is he? Chaotic neutral? Is he chaotic good? Chaotic evil? Is he lawful evil? Is he, chaotic evil? Is he neutral evil? You know what I'm talking about? The character development grid.
I don't really know how to classify it myself, but I'm familiar with those classifications. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be. I thought it was an interesting discussion. I kind of put him as a chaotic neutral, maybe, or maybe even a neutral evil masquerading as a chaotic neutral.
Yeah, but there's something that you can't trust with it because of the observer effect in psychology. I mean, I guess he's not trying to be visible, but it sure seems like he is. Like you can have as much money as him and a lot more, and not be nearly as visible to the public as he is. So it's intentional on his part to be so visible. And so when somebody is being watched, they know they're being watched, they want to be seen, and they're going to these links to be seen. I don't really know how
That's a
to
good point.
trust him. He's always on camera on
Yeah.
purpose, or always being seen on purpose. I don't know if I
His
can trust
every
the
appearance is a show. That's a good point.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's enough for tonight, considering we didn't have a show planned at all. I think we did 50 minutes there. We want to thank you for joining us. I didn't ask anybody to subscribe and all that stuff because I think if you like the content and if you're enjoying the conversation, then you'll go ahead and do that. So I'm going to try to remember to do that in the beginning of other episodes. But you know what? I haven't really shared this show that much or anything like that. I've sent it around to a few people when I first started, and I figure if people like it, they'll share it around and they'll talk about it. And if they don't, then me and Tim will keep talking until we get good enough till they do like it and want to share it. So, sometimes we have good shows and sometimes they're not so good. I couldn't find my points that I was looking for on several occasions tonight, and sometimes that happens. But we'll be back on Sunday. I think we'll do a little bit more of a fun show this Sunday. I'm not sure exactly what we'll do just yet, but Tim and I will talk about that, and we're going to look forward to speaking with Mike Enzer to get a conversation with him on the show. So, Tim, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm all done here tonight. Do you have anything you want to add before we call it a night?
No.
All right. Thanks for joining us. Thank you, Solar Power and Electricity and Electronics, for commenting and joining in on the conversation with us. Hey, if you have anything you want to send it to the ironmountainhour@gmail.com out there. And if you have any other comments after the show, you can always just comment them on the YouTube. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you on Sunday at 10.